Over the course of the next few videos, we're going to work on expanding our colony's infrastructure, manufacturing more consumer goods, and providing more living space so that we can support a greater population. And a part of the way that we're going to work towards expanding our population is we're going to engage in off-world trade so that we can get some currency and recruit the kind of migrants that we want to bring into our colony. Off-world trade is basically a way that you can take anything that your colony has at its disposal, manufactured goods, raw materials, whatever you've got, and trade them with off-worlders who will land in a ship that comes from the galaxy at large, and you can get all sorts of manufactured goods from them. You could get raw materials that you might not necessarily have at your colony's disposal, and so off-world trade is a very useful way for filling the sort of production gaps and material gaps that your colony is inevitably going to have as you move forward. So just as a for instance, let's say that I have a colony that's great at manufacturing furniture. I've got a lot of really high quality furniture, but I don't have any uranium to power my nuclear generators. I can engage in off-world trade to exchange some of the furniture that I have, the excess furniture, for the uranium that I need. So we'll get into how to do that in an upcoming video, but before we can, we're going to want to expand our stockpiles so that we can have something good to trade with the off-worlders. So if I take a look at colony supplies here, we're doing pretty good, and we've got a bunch of different sorts of raw materials that we can use. One of the things that we have underneath us, we have large reserves of cobalt ore and cobaltite, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to get a whole bunch of excess cobalt so that we can trade that for other things we need. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to Z level 38. We've got a pretty vast cobalt reserve on this level, and I'm just going to issue a mining order to mine a whole bunch more cobalt. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up our refining orders dialog here, and I'm going to see that we've got just under 800,000 cobaltite on hand. So I'm going to issue a refining order for 700,000 units of that so that we can get as much cobalt as we'll need to sell to the off-worlders. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to work on expanding our power generating infrastructure. Right now we've just got a couple of wind generators, and while that's all right for starting out, you generally are going to need a lot more energy moving forward. And one of the cheap and efficient kind of ways to generate electricity is using chemical fuels. We'll manufacture a chemical fuel generator, but we're going to need raw materials to power that. That's the difference between your renewable sources like wind and solar that don't need any inputs to burn, while our chemical generator is going to need a chemical fuel. If you take a look at Z level 44, we've got a pretty vast reserve of oil shale. Oil shale is probably the best kind of chemical fuel pound for pound. There's a whole bunch of coal around here too, but we're just going to issue mining orders to get our hands on this oil shale here at Z level 44. So I've got those orders issued, and I'm going to go ahead and unpause. Remember too, every time that you load the game, to go ahead and click on the options menu at the top, enter a secret code, type in no events to prevent any sorts of untoward things happening to your colony. We don't want to be getting attacked right now. We're just going to be covering how to play the game. So I'll go ahead and unpause it, crack open the orders dialog, see that I do in fact have all of these different mining orders present. You should see our workers taking care of business fairly soon. Now, some of the other stuff that we're going to want to do to prepare for the next sorts of videos is we're going to issue some manufacturing orders to get some of the things that we need. I mentioned before that we're going to want to have a chemical power generator in order to burn that oil shale, burn the petroleum derived from the oil shale, and generate more electricity. So I'll click on the manufacturing dialog. I'll type chemical into the filter. I see there's a chemical power generator. I'll select that, click next, and now we've got a whole bunch of choices to make for our materials, as we usually do. I'm going to go ahead and use just a random kind of rock for the frame. We will use copper for the generator module. Copper has an excellent electrical conductivity rating. And for our engine mechanics, I'm going to go ahead and use cobalt for that, as we've got a lot of that on hand and it will serve well. We'll only need one chemical generator. As you'll see, one of these can generate plenty of energy for the early going here. I'll go ahead and issue that order, elevate its priority, Take a look down here and see how our mining's doing. We can see that we've got more cobalt, cobaltite being mined. Business is being taken care of. The other thing that we'll take a look at here is if we go ahead and inspect our water vapor extraction units, we can take a look at the generator info and see that these guys work pretty slowly. So in order to support a large population that's going to be consuming a whole bunch of water that's going to be needed for food and drink, I'm going to go ahead and issue manufacturing orders to make a bunch more of those. So we'll go ahead and say water vapor extraction station. For our frames, I'm going to use quartz-bearing rock once again. We don't really have a ton of copper for this, so, well, we should have enough. I'm going to use copper for the for the electrocondenser, but if you guys don't have enough copper, feel free to substitute in a different material. And then over here, I'm going to use cobalt. I'm going to issue manufacturing orders for, let's say, 8 more of these. That ought to be good to get us going for the time being. And then I'm going to go ahead and issue a refining order to refine some more quartz-bearing rock. If we open up our encyclopedia dialog, filter down to rock, check out quartz-bearing rock. We can see that we can derive some copper from this. We won't get a large amount per unit, but since we're going to use copper in our new water treatment stations, I'm going to go ahead and refine 500,000 units of quartz-bearing rock, which should give us the copper we need. Elevate the priorities on these guys. And we've got our personnel chugging away. We are starting to hit a point where, with only the limited population we've got, we're issuing a bunch of orders that our colonists might not be able to take on. So we'll work on getting trade taken care of here next, and getting the currency that we need to recruit a wave of migrants that'll help us get more people so that we can take on more orders and keep expanding more quickly. So we've just covered doing a bunch of stuff that you guys already know how to do in this video, but in the next ones we're going to use the yields of what we've done here to expand our infrastructure and get ready for trade.